Okay, Mr. Derry here. We're going to make the final changes and corrections to our clock project toolpaths prior to saving the toolpaths for actually doing the cuts over at the ShopBot. So I have a student's project here, and I'm going to go through and point out a number of things that have changed and corrections and so forth that we want to do. So let's go ahead and get started. Number one, let's take a look to ensure that you have your material set up correctly. It's important that you have the orientation or the location of the origin in what I refer to as the upper lower left hand corner. What I mean by lower left hand corner is this X right here. The datum position is here, and the 0 position is at the top of the board. Now, the boards that you cut, all of you cut them accurately to 10 inches long. They were already pre-milled to 5.5 inches on the height. And the thickness of those boards is not 1 inch, and this can get you into a lot of trouble. Make sure your thickness is set to 0.75 because this will tell you whether or not you're going to cut through your material. Again, quick review: 10 inches, 5.5, 3/4 of an inch, and our 0Z is at the top of the board, and the X and Y are in the lower left hand corner. So that looks good. So now let's get to our toolpaths and take a look and see what's what here. I have little checks in here. You may or may not have checks in here, and if you turn a check on, it'll tell you what toolpath that is. And these little lines represent the actual path that the bit is going to take. If yours don't line up with the work, it's possible that you moved your work and didn't recalculate the toolpath. Let me show you what I mean. So if I go in here and say, you know what, I really would like these features to be out a little further away from the main icon here, or main logo. So I'm just moving these things a little bit, and as I move these, the toolpath does not come with it. VCarve doesn't know that that's what I want to do. So if you look closely now, you'll see that my toolpath is actually outside of the red lines. Well, how can I fix that? That's really easy. If you go to this toolpath, you can right click on it and hit Recalculate All, okay? Or you could come up here and hit Recalculate All Toolpaths. When I do that, it looks at the artwork associated with that toolpath and it relocates that. Notice now that my lines are inside my artwork, which is good. Okay, important to do. So let's take a look at this little ring here. Notice, by the way, you may have a toolpath that just says VCarve. And I've changed this one to say 60, 90, and 0.5 because these are the bits associated with these toolpaths. It's important that you start thinking about that because on the ShopBot, we're going to need to change bits in order to do each of these operations. I purposely picked 3 different bits just to show you what this is going to look like. All right. So this toolpath, my 60 degree, is located correctly. Let's see if I like the feeds and speeds. So I'm going to right click and hit Edit. And this is going to talk about bit selection and the speeds and feeds. A previous video that you watched also talked about this, but I want to change them. So right here, I'm going to hit Select and make sure that the bit associated with this is indeed a 60 degree bit, and it is. The current feed rate, however, is 3 inches per second, which we've learned is a little fast and is creating a little bit of tear out. So I'm going to change that feed rate to 2 inches per second, and the same thing for the plunge. You can get yourselves in a lot of trouble here if you type in the wrong value, so make sure you take a look at this carefully, because if you get it to run too fast, it can either rip the board off the table, break a bit, or tear up the finish on your board. The path's depth is also important, and it's currently cutting 1/4 of an inch deep at a time, which is fine, especially at this feed rate. So I'm going to hit OK, and that's going to update that. All right, just to be safe, I'm going to hit Recalculate, so that's all set. Now on our clock pocket, I want to make another change. I decided that the 3-inch diameter hole is just a tiny bit too tight. So if you click on the clock pocket toolpath, this red circle shows up. If you come over here to where you hit the circle tool, oops, that's the wrong circle I clicked on. Let me close that out. Apologize. Actually, I take that back. That toolpath is associated with the wrong, that clock pocket toolpath is associated with my border, and it's supposed to be associated with this. So I'm going to click on this and hit recalculate. Actually, let me go back to that again. I'm going to change the size of that. If your clock pocket is cutting to the outer larger one, your clock's going to fall out. So make sure it's to the inner one. All right, I got this selected. Go to your circle size, and we had it set at a 3-inch diameter. I'm going to make it slightly larger than that. So I'm going to say 3.01, and I'm going to make it so this is 10 thousandths of an inch larger. All right, so I'd like you to change that. If I hit apply, you won't be able to see it because 10 thousandths is a small amount, but that circle has just gotten a little bit bigger. Close that out. One final time, I'm going to go to my edit here. Before I hit calculate, I want to check my feed rate. So I'm going to go to, it's a straight bit. I'm going to hit edit. It's currently cutting at 1 inch per second, which is good. It's got a plunge rate of 0.5 and a pass depth of 1/4 of an inch. So I'd like you to slow yours down to 1 inch per second so that it doesn't tear this up. All right. So take a look at this. Make sure this is your clock pocket bit. Hit OK. Hit calculate. So we've changed two things. We've changed the size of this circle, and we've changed the speed at which that bit's going to move through the material. All right. And the last one here is a 90-degree bit. I'm going to double edit that and make sure that its feed rate is down to 2, which it is. Path depth is 1/4 inch, which is good. So I hit OK. Hit calculate to be safe. I'm going to hit preview all toolpaths one last time. Take a look at this and see that my artwork looks like I want it to. I don't have any additional things here. So now I'm going to go about one final change, and then we're going to actually save these. So the change I want to do here is this material setup change. Right now, the bit, the ShopBot, when it's done cutting your project, it's going to put the bit right over here at the origin. Well, that's going to make it hard for you to get the board off. You're going to have to go into the ShopBot control software, move the bit out of the way so you can move your board. We can save everybody a lot of time by coming in here under setup, and we can change our home start position so that it's over here. So I'm going to type in 12, and for the Y, I'm going to type in 10, and we'll leave the Z alone. Make sure you don't change that. What that's going to do is it's just going to move the bit from here to here when at the end of the job so that it saves us time switching between. We're going to hit recalculate all toolpaths. That's fine. So we're going to go recalculate all toolpaths. We're good. One final preview just to make sure nothing's changed. And then it's just moving our bit out over here when we're all done. So let's go about saving these now. One at a time, we're going to save these toolpaths. When you're saving a toolpath, you want to click on the one that you're saving. Don't click on all of them because we can only save toolpaths with the same bit. So here we go. 60 degree. I'm going to hit save. Save toolpath. Where is it going? It's going to go, we have a shared folder. So it's a little bit buried. So you're going to go to the student share. I'm going kind of quickly here. LOLHS, dairy, clock project. And this is a 60 degree bit. So I'm going to go in here. Let me just see if I can actually, you're going to see a bunch of these in there, so it doesn't matter. So I want, whoops, let me hit that one more time. Save toolpath. I want my toolpath. I'm going to put my last name, first initial in front of this, 60 degree. It's important because that reminds me what bit I'm using. And I've got it in the clock project. Whoops, got to go back to that folder. Student share, LOLHS, dairy, clock project, 60 degree, and I'm going to hit save. Now it's in there. I need to do the same thing for each of this. So I'm going to go to my deselect that, select this one. This one again, I'm going to put my last name in front of it because you're all going to have one of these. And I'm going to go to the 0.5 bit, hit save, and one last time I'm going to hit save toolpath with the 90, put my name in there, and find the 90 degree folder. We're going to pull those off that file, put them on a flash drive, and go make our cuts. That wraps up this video. Remember, have me check your work before you go. I want to make sure that your layout is in good shape, that you haven't picked any artwork that may need some adjustments before we go ahead and start carving up our boards.